Welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program. I'm Kelsey Kiesling.
And I'm Kendra Cook. Dolores County Broadcasting Network is the producer of DCTV with support from the Southwest TV Translator Association.
If you have a news topic or tips you'd like to see covered, give us a call. The studio number is 677-4119.
Today's show runs Tuesday at noon and is rebroadcast at 3 and 6 p.m. and again re-aired on Friday at noon, 3 and 6. Today is January 9th, 2017, and now the news at noon.
According to the Durango Herald, a man and a woman were in La Plata County Jail on Thursday after leading police on a high-speed chase that started Wednesday night in Silverton and reached speeds of 90 miles per hour on U.S. Highway 550. The Silverton Standard and Minor identified the suspects as Joshua Critchfield, age 22, and Sage Cornell, age 28, both from Grand Junction. The San Juan County Sheriff's Office initially responded to reports of a broken-down vehicle on Highway 550 south of Silverton, which turned out to be stolen, Sheriff Bruce Conrad said. He said officers received a second call at about a different stolen vehicle shortly after 7 p.m. The pursuit started when an off-duty officer spotted the second vehicle, a late-model Subaru Forester, in downtown Silverton. Conrad said the driver led deputies on a high-speed, dangerous pursuit that extended 21 miles south on Highway 550. The driver turned off the vehicle's lights several times and drove headlong into oncoming traffic in an attempt to elude officers, forcing other vehicles off the road, Conrad said. Officers deployed spike strips on the road near Needles Country Store, but the driver turned around before reaching them, he said. Scanner traffic said other cars may have accidentally hit the spike strips, but Conrad said he could not confirm whether that happened. The Sheriff's Office, assisted by the La Plata County Sheriff's Office and Colorado State Patrol, chased the driver into Purgatory Resort, where he and a passenger fled on foot into the trees. Conrad said officers, with the help of a Purgatory security guard, apprehended the suspects around 10 p.m. on a steep grade after following their tracks in the snow. In all, the suspects stole 2 vehicles. Conrad said they are facing several charges, including aggravated motor vehicle theft, reckless endangerment, and felony eluding.
Political news from Colorado features Cory Gardner standing up to the Trump administration. Reported in the Journal from the Washington Post, Cory Gardner, the junior senator from Colorado, is not one of the loud and persistent GOP critics who have become fixtures on cable news. In fact, he and Trump align on most issues. But Gardner, who also heads the campaign operation charged with hanging on to the Republicans' Senate majority, is becoming known as someone who will do more than posture when he and the Trump administration disagree. The latest and most striking example came last Thursday, when Gardner, who is 43, announced that he will stand in the way of every nomination that the Justice Department sends to the Senate. Late last year, he and Trump were in opposition over the Alabama Senate race. His latest move came in protest against Attorney General Jeff Sessions' new policy allowing federal prosecutors to crack down on the marijuana industry, a reversal of Obama administration policies and a blow to states such as Colorado that have legalized cannabis despite federal law against it. Gardner tweeted, quote, "This reported action directly contradicts what Attorney General Sessions told me prior to this conferment. With no prior notice to Congress, the Justice Department has trampled on the will of the voters in Colorado and other states." His position is undoubtedly beneficial to his own political situation, given the popularity of legal marijuana in his home state, a battleground where he will be facing re-election in 2020. While Colorado defies any party label, it has a strong libertarian streak. In 2012, it became one of the first 2 states to legalize pot for recreational use. A year later, voters there recalled 2 state senators who had voted for stricter gun laws. Though he has a staunchly conservative voting record, Gardner, a former Senate staffer and state lawmaker, has proved skillful at navigating his state's tricky political terrain. His 2014 campaign ads touted him as, quote, "a new kind of Republican." After Gardner's victory over incumbent Democrat Mark Udall, Bloomberg News dubbed him a purple superhero. Meanwhile, he maintains a demeanor so cheerful that the Washington Post columnist George Will once described him as a human sunbeam. He's a very substantive senator, but he's also a very politically savvy senator, said former Colorado GOP chairman Dick Wadhams. You're seeing a very able politician positioning himself personally on issues that are important to his state. and both the marijuana issue and the issue of sexual harassment are going to be pretty important in a swing state like Colorado. If Gardner's position on Alabama caused problems for other Republicans, so has Sessions' stance on pot, because it divides social conservatives from libertarians, both of whom are essential parts of the GOP base. Gardner's counterpart at the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, Senator Chris Van Hollen, Democrat from Maryland, pointed to Gardner's outspokenness as a sign that there could be a budding bipartisan coalition to resist the directive, which Van Hollen also opposes. Before agreeing to vote to confirm Sessions, Gardner said he had demanded assurances from the nominee that the administration would not move against Colorado's marijuana industry. Though Gardner had personally opposed legalization, he said he believed the will of Colorado voters should be respected. Sessions assured him, quote, that the Trump administration simply didn't have this on their agenda. Gardner said they didn't have room for it, they didn't plan on doing it, and that Trump honestly wasn't there. When asked about that discussion, senior Justice Department officials declined to comment. Gardner has been in touch with Sessions again after announcing his plan to oppose the department's nominees unless it relents on changing the marijuana policy. There was no reconciliation of difference, the senator said. We are going to have a conversation about this next week.
According to the Durango Herald, a rollover crash near the base of Coalbank Pass closed U.S. Highway 550 for a brief period Friday morning. The crash was reported at 11:25 p.m. Thursday near mile marker 51, which is near Cascade Creek on the south side of Coalbank Pass, said Colorado State Patrol Trooper Gary Cutler, a spokesman in Denver. The SUV was abandoned in the middle of the road near a blind curve, he said. Colorado Department of Transportation said the road was closed at 12:20 a.m. and opened to alternating traffic about 12:27 a.m., before fully reopening at 12:56 a.m. The registered owner of the vehicle, a male, reported the crash at 3:30 a.m., Cutler said. He did not immediately have information about the driver's identity or citations. Troopers also did not have an accident description Friday morning. No injuries were reported. Troopers were able to move the car from the middle of the road, which allowed Highway 550 to reopen for alternating traffic.
From the Journal in Cortez, a wolf that once roamed parts of the American Southwest and northern Mexico would be removed from the list of federally protected species under legislation proposed by U.S. Senator Jeff Flake. The Arizona Republican introduced the measure last week. He's a critic of the Mexican gray wolf recovery plan that was adopted by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in November, calling it a regulatory nightmare for ranchers and rural communities. I plan to continue my efforts to push for real recovery that takes into account the needs of the local stakeholders most impacted by this policy, Flake said in a statement on Monday. The legislation calls for the director of the Fish and Wildlife Service to determine if a population of fewer than 100 wolves has been established in the species' historical range along Arizona and New Mexico's border. If so, the predator would be considered recovered and removed from the endangered list. Management of the wolves would be turned over to the state wildlife agencies in Arizona and New Mexico once the Fish and Wildlife Service makes a determination. An estimated 113 wolves roam parts of Arizona and New Mexico according to the most recent data. Members of the wolf recovery team will be conducting a new survey in the coming weeks. Environmental groups have pressed for years for more captive wolves to be released into the wild, but ranchers and elected leaders in rural communities have pushed back because the predators sometimes attack domestic livestock and wild game. In 2016, the U.S. Interior Department's internal watchdog said the Fish and Wildlife Service had not fulfilled its obligation to remove Mexican gray wolves that preyed on pets and cattle. The new recovery plan, which was adopted following decades of legal challenges and political battles, calls for management eventually to revert to the states, but not until the population averages 320 wolves over an 8-year period. In each of the last 3 years, the population would have to exceed the average to ensure the species doesn't backslide.
According to the Cortez Journal, Colorado's top federal prosecutor said his office won't alter its approach to enforcing marijuana crimes after U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions withdrew a policy Thursday that allowed pot markets to emerge in states that legalized the drug. The statement by U.S. Attorney Bob Troyer came amid bipartisan outrage over Sessions' decision to end the so-called Cole Memorandum, which sharply limited what charges prosecutors could pursue in legal pot states. He will allow federal prosecutors to decide how aggressively to enforce long-standing federal law banning pot. The U.S. Attorney for Colorado took office in August 2016 after former President Barack Obama's appointee stepped down. President Donald Trump hasn't nominated a replacement. Sessions' move infuriated Republican U.S. Senator Cory Gardner, who said he's placing a hold on Justice Department nominees and will try to push legislation to protect marijuana sales in states where they are legal. The Colorado senator said Sessions promised him that he would not repeal the Obama-era policy on lenient enforcement before being confirmed as the nation's top law enforcement official. Gardner noted that during the 2016 presidential campaign, Trump told a Colorado television reporter that he believed marijuana should be left up to the states. Why does Jeff Sessions think President Trump was wrong, he asked. Gardner said he only found out via Twitter that Sessions was changing the policy. He said he plans to reach out to other lawmakers from Alaska, California, Massachusetts, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington state to seek congressional protection for pot programs. And now let's take a look at the weather.
Our national weather map is showing rain and snow across the west from the Pacific Northwest down to the Baja, with continued snows across the Rocky Mountains. The central U.S. remains under the high pressure system, resulting in a fairly mild average temperature day ahead of more cold weather coming in. The Central Plains and Midwest are under rain advisories, with Florida also covered by potential rains and thunderstorms. The coastal moisture has cleared off for the moment, though parts of New England still remain under winter snow effects. Regionally, the hazardous weather warning is in effect, as significant snowfall is expected to develop in the mountains beginning this evening through Wednesday night. Snow levels will be high today, and lower valley temperatures are expected to climb into the mid-40s to low 50s, so many lower elevations will experience rain with the beginning of the storm. Snow level is anticipated to begin around 7,500 feet this evening, when conditions will begin to deteriorate. The heaviest snow is expected to fall across eastern Utah and western Colorado early Wednesday morning through the early afternoon of Wednesday. Southwesterly slopes will be favored until Wednesday morning, when winds shift to westerly and northwesterly. The snow level will drop into higher valley locations Wednesday morning as cooler air moves in from the northwest. The Wednesday morning commute could be treacherous across the mountains and parts of the northwest Colorado, so be sure to keep an eye on those interactive weather and road maps if you have to drive somewhere within the state. So what does this mean locally? Our DCTV 5-day outlook shows today scattered showers mainly after 10 a.m. this morning, mostly cloudy with a high near 48 degrees, south winds 5 to 15 miles an hour, and the chance of precipitation is 40%. Tonight, periods of showers mainly after midnight, lows around 33 degrees. South winds 10 to 15 miles an hour with a chance of precipitation at 80%. Wednesday, we wake up to rain and snow showers with patchy fog before 8 a.m., possibly becoming all snow after 3 p.m. Wednesday afternoon. High near 42 degrees, south-southwest winds 10 to 15 miles an hour, becoming northwest in the afternoon. The chance of precipitation is 90%, so that means pretty much we're going to have snow. New snow accumulations of less than 1 inch are possible. Wednesday, a windy night with a 20% chance of snow showers before 11 p.m., with partly cloudy skies and a low down around 21 degrees. North-northwest winds 10 to 15 miles an hour with gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. Thursday, we're back to sunshine with a high near 40. North winds 5 to 10 miles an hour, and Thursday night partly cloudy with a low around 24. Friday, we warm up to a bit more, heading into a nice clear sunny weekend. Friday, expect sunshine and temps warming to a high near 46. Friday night, mostly clear with a low around 24. Saturday, Sunday with a high near 46. Saturday night, mostly clear and a low around 24 again. And Sunday the same with a high near 47. Sunday night, mostly clear and a low around 24. And now, back to the news.
Reported by the Durango Herald, San Juan National Forest officials are becoming increasingly concerned about the destructive impacts of a round-headed pine beetle infestation. The beetle is native to the state but is more commonly seen in New Mexico and Arizona. As it spreads northward into southwest Colorado, ponderosa pine are on the menu. Of the 90,000 acres of manageable ponderosa stands in the Dolores district of the San Juan Forest, 10,584 acres have been infested or killed primarily by the round-headed pine beetle since 2011, according to forest officials and a state entomologist. In 2011, 8 acres of ponderosa infested or killed by the pine beetles was detected in the Lake Canyon and Narragansett Canyon in Dolores County. In 2013, the area of beetles killed and infested trees had spread to 1,478 acres in that area, then to 6,643 acres in 2016. By 2017, aerial surveys showed 10,584 acres of ponderosa have been killed or infested by the beetle, mostly in the glade area along the eastern rim of the lower Dolores Canyon. Insect traps and tree damage patterns specific to the bug identified the round-headed beetle as the main culprit, but the mountain pine beetle is also to blame. There is another pine beetle infestation in Lone Mesa State Park to the east. What we're seeing now are small pockets in other areas being impacted by the beetle, including one in the Cherry Creek area, said Dolores District Ranger Derek Padilla at a recent Montezuma County Commission meeting. We're focusing our forest treatment plans to hopefully slow their progress, he said. The relatively large and sustained infestation by the round-headed beetle is a new phenomenon for Colorado and somewhat of a mystery, said Dan West, an entomologist with Colorado State Forest Service, during a recent PowerPoint presentation. The oldest, most knowledgeable people on the topic don't recall something like this happening in our area, he said at a talk hosted by the Dolores Watershed and Resilient Forest Group. Typically, round-headed beetle outbreaks will cause tree mortality in a forest for 2 years, then dissipate the 3rd year. Why this extended infestation is occurring for much longer is unknown, West said.
Conservation bills in Congress could benefit Colorado, according to an article in the Journal. Colorado lawmakers and conservation officials are pinning their hopes for additional federal funding of wildlife conservation on 2 bills recently introduced in Congress. One of them would redirect about $29 million a year to Colorado from fees paid by companies that extract energy and minerals from federal lands. Much of the money would be funneled to Colorado Parks and Wildlife. The Wildlife Action Plan sets priorities for their state's conservation needs. It also seeks to coordinate efforts among the wildlife conservation community. In Colorado, conservation is a higher priority than for many states because of vast tracts of land and water set aside for wildlife preservation, according to conservation officials. With nearly 30 million acres of public land, an estimated 39,000 miles of accessible trails, and a very active state, outdoor recreation is crucial to Colorado. Hunting, fishing, wildlife viewing, and state park visits benefit Colorado's economy by contributing $6.1 billion annually. State officials described a more grandiose plan in their 2014 State Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan. If it is carried out as projected, it could generate $34 billion a year for the state. As for outdoor recreation in Colorado, it is a major economic driver for both urban and rural communities. Nationwide, the bill H.R. 4647 would contribute $1.3 billion a year in royalties from energy and mineral companies to the Federal Wildlife Conservation Restoration Program. The guidelines for spending the money would require that the supplemental funds be used to manage fish and wildlife species of, quote, greatest conservation need. State fish and wildlife agencies would determine which species qualify. Sponsors of the bill, U.S. Representatives Jeff Fortenberry, Republican from Nebraska, and Debbie Dingell, Democrat from Michigan, said the funds would help conserve more than 12,000 species of fish and wildlife of their habitats.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, enrollment in the state's health exchange is strong regionally and statewide despite federal efforts in 2017 to roll back the Affordable Care Act, including the recent elimination of a tax penalty assessed to uninsured individuals. The rush to sign up for insurance through Connect for Health Colorado happened mainly before the mid-December deadline for those who wanted insurance to become effective January 1st, said Luke Clark, a spokesman for the exchange. The open enrollment period for Connect for Health closes January 12th. By mid-December, more than 149,000 Coloradans signed up for the health insurance through the exchange, representing a 7% increase compared with the same period last year, according to Connect for Health. The early birds represent the bulk of enrollment, Clark said. Residents are still enrolling daily at the Pinion Project Family Resource Center in Cortez, and the nonprofit has been busy, said Dave Hart, the health program director at the center. For those who qualified for tax credits, insurance was cheaper than last year, he said. Insurance prices on the state health exchange increased more than 30% in Montezuma and La Plata counties in 2018, according to the Division of Insurance. The most recent change to the Affordable Care Act, the elimination of a tax penalty to the uninsured, could also increase prices, but it's unclear how it may play out. The penalty was eliminated in December as part of the tax overhaul, and it was touted by President Donald Trump as a way to roll back the Affordable Care Act, but it will not take effect immediately. The penalty remains in place through 2018, so those without coverage during the coming year would still have the penalty assessed when paying their income taxes in April 2019, Clark said. The fine for going without insurance for a year is 2.5% of an individual's annual income, or $695 for an adult and $347.50 for a child. Individuals pay whatever is higher. The fine is capped at about $2,000.
As the Colorado minimum wage takes its second step up in 2018, restaurants still worry the hikes will hurt their businesses. The gap between kitchen staff and server staff has widened due to rules on who can receive tips. This article is from the Denver Post. Mas Torito, owner of Kokoro Restaurant, knew he would have to cover higher costs with the minimum wage increase, but he believed it was the right thing to do. What caught him off guard, however, was how quickly wage increases have had to come. Our feeling is that the labor market is so strong and unemployment so low that we've had to increase pay multiple times a year, said Torito. Our kitchen employees start at $12.50 an hour as of last September. The $11.50 we had been paying earlier in the year wasn't keeping up. At the first of the year, Colorado's minimum wage rose to $10.20 an hour from $9.30, which follows an increase a year earlier from $8.41. Two more increases are coming at the start of 2019 and 2020. Colorado joins 18 states and 19 local governments that will adjust the minimum wage higher in 2018. Of those states, Colorado's increase is the largest at 9.7%, followed by Hawaii at 9.2%. Supporters of the measure argue that the dire predictions of job losses and business closures, especially in the restaurant industry, haven't panned out. Workers earning the minimum wage or just above it say the increase has made a difference in their lives, but they also question whether the ask was too modest given how much housing costs continue to rise in the cities. Restaurateurs were among the most vocal critics of the minimum wage hikes, and more than a year later remain so. Sonia Riggs, president and CEO of the Colorado Restaurant Association, said, "Two restaurants that I spoke with are laying off some employees. Many are raising prices. Some are discussing changing the way that they work so that cooks interact more with customers, thus making them eligible to participate in a legal tip pool." Regulations passed in 2011 by the Labor Department during the Obama administration prohibit tips given to workers who interact with the public from being shared with non-tipped workers, such as cooks and dishwashers. There were 11,791 dining and drinking establishments in Colorado at the end of June, up 2.7% from 11,480 a year earlier, another sign the food service industry continues to grow. But the numbers also show restaurant owners are handing out much larger paychecks. Total food services wages are up 10.5% year over year in the second quarter, and the average weekly wage is up 8% to $490. That contrasts with a 3.3% wage increase averaged in 2016 and a smaller 4.2% increase in the average weekly wage, which was $1,042 statewide. Tipped employees, typically those who interact with the public, can make no less than $3.02 an hour below the state minimum wage, regardless of how much they make in tips. That will take the minimum tipped wage from $6.28 an hour this year to $7.18 an hour next year, and then $8.08 and finally $8.98 an hour by 2020. Restaurants are basically being forced to give 65% of their highest paid employees a 70% raise over the next 3 years, thus making it harder to give the back of the house employees, like cooks, a raise, Riggs said. Mark Rogers, chairman of the association and owner of Two Cheddar Casual Cafes in Metro Denver, said the minimum wage is up 23%, while the tipped wage will have increased 36% since Amendment 70 passed. Most restaurants will have to increase prices again in order to make up the increased costs in payroll, he said, adding that others are cutting portion sizes, deploying technology to replace labor, or scheduling close to the bone. Kokoro servers can make $15 an hour in tips on top of a minimum wage that is now at $7.18 an hour, which pushes their pay to around $22 an hour. As restaurants lift menu prices to cover higher wages, that contributes to a larger check and higher tips. But that only deepens the sense of being left behind felt by kitchen staff, who are more likely to be minority or foreign-born.
According to the Cortez Journal, the Winter Farmers Market at the Four Seasons Greenhouse in Dolores continues to grow in its 5th year. Open on Saturdays from November through March, the market features vendors from farms and ranches in Montezuma County who sell fresh produce, meat, and other products in one of the greenhouse's indoor display areas. It started the new year on Saturday with about 34 vendors, Four Seasons owner Vic Vanek said, including several newcomers and some growers who have participated in the market since the beginning. Vanek said the winter market has made his business more successful. He said the market has been crowded every week this season. When it opened at 10 a.m. on Saturday, the greenhouse's parking lot was already filling up with customers' cars. Several other vendors also said the market has helped them to be more successful this winter. John Buck, a Montezuma County rancher who joined the market for the first time this year, said it has helped him expand his customer base. He recently started selling packaged meat at farmers markets, and he said Four Seasons is the only local one he's found that stays open all winter. Vanek said that the greenhouse staff tries to keep the market focused on fresh produce as much as possible, but several craft and clothing vendors also participate. On Saturday, booths selling fudge, jewelry, and winter coats could be found alongside those selling lettuce, meat, and eggs. The market will remain open from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Saturday through March 10th.
Today's High Canyon Country happenings, the 5th Annual Dolores River Boating Advocates Permit Party, will be on January 19th at the Dolores Community Center from 6 to 10 p.m. Kevin Fidarco, best-selling author of The Emerald Mile, will be the guest speaker discussing his latest river book, Beneath the River of Shooting Stars, Misery, Obsession, and Grace on the Grand Canyon. Local bluegrass band Last Nickel will play. Plus, there will be a silent auction with many great deals on boating and outdoor gear. Permit information and applications for local and regional rivers will also be available. Food and beverages will be provided by Absolute Bakery, Dolores River Brewery, Mancus Brewery, and Wild Edge Brewing Collective. Admission is $12 in advance or $15 at the door. Youth get in for $5 and kids under 12 get in free. For tickets or for more information, go to doloresriverboating.org. January 16th will be the second annual Agricultural Outlook Strategies and Economic Summit, facilitated by CSU Extension and the USDA. All Southwest agricultural producers are welcome. It will be held from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Montezuma County Fairgrounds. Lunch will be provided by the Four Quarters Community Bank. Presentation topics include alfalfa trial results, marketing hedges, insurance packages, economic forecasts, and enterprise budgets, with FSA updates and questions and answers with the presenters. Locally, don't forget the enrollment for the Dolores County 4-H Club is open until February 9th this year. The fee is $26 per child, which entitles you to enroll in 2 projects. If you are only enrolling in the DCTV Kids News program, the fee is $16. If you have questions or want to find the online form, call Gus Westerman at the CSU office 970-677-2283. And all of these happenings are posted on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with the YouTube replay, weather, and original stories and local posts. To share your event or information, contact us. The email is dcbnnews@gmail.com or call the station 970-677-4119, and we'll be sure to get your news on air.
Thanks for tuning in. News at Noon airs at noon Monday through Wednesday and then is rebroadcast at 3 and 6 p.m. and again re-aired Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the same order at noon, 3 and 6.
And be sure to check us out on Facebook. It's DCTV News at Noon. Please like us there and share it with a friend.
For Kendra Cook with DCTV and the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. Thanks for watching.